Welcome to the Geekcentric Podcast. My name is Nate, and joining me today for a very special Behind the Geeks episode of the Geekcentric Podcast, we have my brother in the Force, Justin Lawrence. How are you doing today?
Oh, the Force is strong with me today.
It is strong.
It is strong.
Listen, before we get to why the Force is so strong today, I want to remind you that we've actually got two watch clubs going on right now on the podcast, which if you're unfamiliar with what a watch club is, basically it's kind of like a book club, but way better, where we sit down and we talk about and break down every single epic moment with our thoughts and theories, and those episodes drop every Friday, which we currently have our watch club going on very strong for Miss Marvel. And if you're a fan of Obi-Wan, which I'm assuming if you clicked on this, you probably are a fan of Obi-Wan. Well, we have all of our episodes up right now for Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Watch Club, except for our finale episode, which we're stoked is going to be coming out this Friday. You're not going to want to miss it. I am so amped for this finale for Obi-Wan. Justin, are you excited?
Oh, I'm excited. I'm very excited. And today's events definitely got me more excited for this finale. Well,
listen, we're not quite there yet. We can't talk about the finale because we haven't seen it yet as of this recording.
Yes,
but,
exactly.
Justin, we are here for a very special reason. Can you tell everyone who it is? I mean, they probably already know because they've saw it in the thumbnail. But can you tell everyone who it is you got a chance to sit down and chat with?
Of course. Well, again, if you've seen the thumbnail on YouTube or you see the title of this podcast in your podcast feed, yes, I had a chance to sit down with Deborah Chow, the director and executive producer of Star Wars, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. But I also got a chance to sit down with Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader himself, on the podcast and in the YouTube world for you to see. This was an absolute delight. A huge thank you to Disney Plus Canada and Disney Studios Canada for just giving us this opportunity. I'm just floored. Any opportunity we can talk to anyone who's making Star Wars content or involved in Star Wars content is huge for us. So
this wasn't your first time meeting
No.
Hayden Christensen, was it?
No. There's a fun story where I share that I actually did meet Hayden Christensen a long time ago.
In a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I didn't fanboy out. I've shared the story with you. And maybe after we get through the interview, I can elaborate a little bit more about that. But yeah, it was a great time, and I'm just humbled at the opportunities that we've had over the last few weeks to just connect with the people that are making the stuff that we love and we want to talk about. And honestly, it's like we're geek-centric. We love these properties. We love these stories that are being told, and we want to just learn more about how they're being told. And today was a big win for us as just having the likes of Deborah Chow and Hayden Christensen on our podcast, and both Canadian. Hello.
So cool.
Right?
So cool.
Yeah, so
Justin, listen, before I chop your arms and legs off and leave you to burn in the lava pits of Mustafar, let me
that's aggressive.
Listen. I'm getting antsy. I want to see this interview.
Sure.
So let's go right to it.
Awesome. Deborah Chow, welcome to the Geekcentric Podcast. My name is Justin. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I'm totally loving this show, and I can't wait to learn more. First, here at Geekcentric, Star Wars is very much a unified fandom that has brought us together to celebrate the things that we love. And knowing, you're Canadian and a fan, probably you started there. What's it like now working in Star Wars and creating content? Has your relationship with Star Wars changed through that process?
I think it definitely changes because, you go to having the responsibility of making it, which is quite different than being a fan. But you certainly, we still have those moments. I don't think, you can, when Vader walks on set for the first time, there's no way you can't have that moment of just going like, oh my God, it's Darth Vader. So it's still incredibly exciting when you're doing it. And I keep thinking,
absolutely.
I'm trying to see your shirt to see what's like.
Well, it's Darth Vader and it says free throat hugs.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
Free throat hugs. One of our favorite things too is about Star Wars is just how we have the freedom to take on our own interpretations of these stories and connect with them in so many ways. So with that, I would love to get your insight about a particular moment in the series, specifically in episode 3, part 3. We see Vader in the final moments watching Obi-Wan through the flames as he gets rescued. Now, I position to my co-hosts that fear has always been a huge part of Anakin's life. And here, I think he was very much crippled by fear, by looking at the fire. He wasn't really looking at Obi-Wan getting away. I would love to know if that was the direction behind this action in this moment, or if maybe there were other intentions of how this moment could be seen.
I think what's really interesting about that moment and a lot of the moments in it is that there have been so many different interpretations of it. And so for me, honestly, I don't even want to give my interpretation because I may not be right. You know what I mean? Like, I know what I was intending when we did it, but I've seen the responses, across the fandom of how they interpret things. Some of them are so interesting, and you know what I mean? And they're bringing things to it that we might have thought of or we didn't think of, but I honestly think they're all valid. So I don't want to give the answer, frankly, because I feel like my answer is just one of many.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly it. I feel like, again, just the beauty of that shot, the way the fire is just rolling on his eyes, there's just so much take away from the interpretation of it. So I love that you kind of want to leave it as a mystery. I enjoy that. Yeah. We got to see you actually star as a cameo as Sash Ketter in The Mandalorian, which was awesome. It was so cool that you did that. Is there any chance we might see her again show up in a galaxy far, far away? And will we get an action figure?
I have been really actively trying not to end up an action figure. I wouldn't let them 3D scan me, and I really don't. I can't act, and that is 100% Dave Filoni's fault that we ended up there. So, I mean, it was super fun, but I am much better behind the camera.
Well, definitely 100%. You are fantastic behind the camera. This series is great. The filmmaking style that you bring to Star Wars, it very much respects the past, but moves the needle forward and telling new stories. So it has been a huge inspiration to sit here and chat with you for a little bit, because the what you're doing in Star Wars is fantastic, and I'm fully on board. So thank you so much for taking some time today. And I hope you have a great rest of your interviews.
You too. Thank you so much. It was really nice meeting you.
Awesome. Have a good one. Hello, Hayden.
Hey there.
Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. My name's Justin. How are you, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. This is a fun story here, but this is actually the second time I'm meeting you. Years ago, I sold you a computer at a technology store just north of Toronto.
What? Come on, really?
Yeah. I couldn't talk to you about Star Wars there. I had to be professional. But I'm so happy that now I've come full circle and I can talk to you about this series.
Awesome.
It's absolutely exciting.
Nice to meet you again.
Nice to meet you. So I heard while preparing for this role, did you dabble in watching some of the animated series to learn a little bit more about the character? And if so, how did that shape your portrayal of the character years later after playing him?
Yeah, I did. I went back and watched the animated series, the Clone Wars and Rebels, and I was just very taken with the storytelling, and Dave Filoni and everyone that worked on those shows did a lot with these characters. I don't know how it necessarily informed my approach, but it was just helpful to see these previous storylines and
right,
and how these relationships were developing, and but yeah, I'm happy I got to do so.
Yeah, for sure. It helps to at least understand the history that has kind of taken place, because you were in obviously 2 very pivotal movies, but there was more stories that were told with Anakin throughout the animated series. So I think that's smart that you would want to go back and at least inform yourself a little bit more. What did you think about Anakin having a Padawan? What did you think of that?
I loved it. Yeah, no, I mean,
yeah.
The relationship with the Ahsoka character is very powerful, and yeah, I was very taken with that relationship. Very there's a lot of emotion there,
Well, there's an Ahsoka series around the corner, so we got you back in live action, so hopefully we'll maybe see you show up there. This past weekend we celebrated Father's Day here in Canada, and I'm happy to say that next year I'll be able to actually celebrate Father's Day, because I'm going to be a dad myself.
Oh, yeah.
I have a daughter
amazing.
on her way.
Congratulations.
Thanks, dude. Thanks. And I know you also have a daughter, and I was wondering what it's been like to share Star Wars with her, and maybe how she sees Darth Vader.
Yeah, well, coming back to this franchise has been very meaningful in a lot of regards, but especially the just the aspect of being able to share it with my daughter this time around, and bring her to set and just have her be a part of this experience with me. She hasn't seen the films yet. I'm still holding off on that, but she knows the character that I play and she thinks it's very cool, and I get some good daddy brownie points for it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's probably one things I'm so excited for with having a girl, especially, is just being able to share my sort of geekiness and fandom and what Star Wars means to me. So,
cool.
Hopefully she'll absorb some of that. So, and Star Wars names are definitely on the table right now, and I might have pitched Anakin or Annie as an option, but just as an option. So my last question here is, I get to the end here. There was so much action that you learned and choreography that went into the first two, the prequels of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, and now coming back. How was it picking up the lightsaber again? And do you still make the humming noise when you're wielding the saber, the fake saber? Because I totally would. I couldn't stop doing that.
I think I'm still guilty of that every now and then. But yeah, I mean the lightsaber work is some of my favorite stuff, and there's quite a bit of it in this one. And getting to train with the stunt crew was great. I had a lot of help from another performer, Tom O'Connell, who also does some of the work in the Darth Vader suit, and he was amazing. So it was a collective effort, but yeah, it was great.
Yeah, well, last week's episode was great to see you out of the suit and very much seeing some of those familiar skills show up, kind of harken back to some of the stuff we saw in Revenge of the Sith, where with you and Obi-Wan, but obviously different time period here in the flashback sequence. So, Hayden, this has been an absolute honor. I really enjoy having you on the Geekcentric podcast. It means a lot, and I'm just happy that you're back in live action Star Wars, man. I hope to see more of you.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll do this
again
right, sometime.
Yeah, man. Have a good one, eh?
All right, you too.
Dude.
I know.
Nuts.
Yeah.
So, was there sand involved? Was there any sand involved? That's what.
No sand involved. I feel like there were some minor technical difficulties that kind of transpired throughout on both ends in terms of timing and stuff like that. I'm just grateful that I had the opportunity. I felt like I was in and out really quick to just kind of ask a couple questions, but a huge testament to what we do here and the sense of working together. Because again, when it was kind of sprung on us that this was going to happen, it was going to happen really quick. We kind of came together and came up with some of these questions. So huge thanks to you, man, for helping to come out. Because I think, as we mentioned, there's so much press for this show that's going around. So we got some questions in there, but we also asked some questions that I think speak more to the fandom around Star Wars, which is what, as I mentioned in the interview,
that's what we do.
That's what brought us together, right? Like we came together before Geekcentric came together based on our love for Star Wars, and then we discovered more and more as we went, and now here we are trying to build something with Geekcentric. So Star Wars is a huge reason as to why we are doing what we do, and it's still like I'm still pinching myself, trying to think. I just talked to two very influential people that took part in probably one of the best Star Wars live action series, one of the best. Don't at me.
Totally.
I know Mandalorian.
Everyone's
but
ready.
Deborah Chow started in the Mandalorian, man, and she made the best. She
made the best episodes of the Mandalorian, I think.
Absolutely,
100%.
Absolutely.
And I loved how she talked about. You brought up her cameo. As Sash Ketter, and she was talking about how she never wants to be scanned or whatever. I know.
She said that she didn't like being in front of the camera, but she did it because of Dave Filoni. I think there's the stories out there online that it was very much like she had to do it because Dave said she had to do it, kind of thing with her with him. But anyways, We are getting, I believe it's Trapper Wolf is Filoni's
as an action figure,
as an action figure.
So
but she didn't want to get
pretty good.
scanned to be turned into an action figure.
Right.
It's unfortunate. That thing would go for a lot. I would have to say. I think that thing
so.
would. As collectors, I think we would love it.
Were you a little disappointed that you didn't get the answer you were looking for about the Darth Vader scene with the fire and everything? That's like.
I wish I came up with that joke in the moment. That's not the answer I was looking for, because that would have been great. No, I think it's, it's a fair assessment. I think it would immediately solidify that this was her intent. This is the intent of what was supposed to happen in that scene. And I think the beauty is, as I mentioned, our debate, our conversation about why did Vader not just push through the fire and finish Obi-Wan? Because now everything after that has been him just slipping through his hands. So, you guys were saying, oh, maybe it's the chase, maybe it's the hunt, maybe that's what he's really into. But he seems so frustrated every time Obi-Wan is slipping from his hands then after. So clearly there must have been something else that really influenced it. And again, I'm not the only one that really read into it as fear or as a sign of fear in that moment from Vader. It was the fire just, consumes his eyes and so on. But I think again, she's a fan, right? Like even in the first question I asked when she talked about your fandom changes, but you're still gonna gush when Vader walks on set, right? Like you're gonna enjoy that moment as a fan. But I think she wants to encourage that. She wants to encourage a healthy dialogue and debate around key points, because that's what it's really for. It's not for a director or a filmmaker to just say that's the reason why. In some instances, it is very much about, well, what is the interpretation? But I knew that question when we were coming up with it. You were like, oh, she's gonna give you that answer, and I was like, no, I think she'll lean into and kind of maybe give us a little bit more of a hint. And you were right. You were right.
Yeah, it was cool to see Hayden as well. I thought that was really touching, the question that you asked about, being a Star Wars dad or whatever. I thought that was
it's like
really
nice soft reveal on the podcast that I'm having a child as well, right? So
right,
what a time to reveal it. Yes, I'm having a daughter this year, so my wife's pregnant, and we couldn't be more excited. I'm excited that it's a girl, and I'm excited to share Star Wars with her. So I'm excited to see if she'll latch on to the storytelling like I did, because not to get super, super personal, but one of the biggest things about Star Wars for me was that I was such an imaginative kid who always lived in like animation and cartoons and my toys and stuff like that, that when I was finally introduced to Star Wars and it was live action, it like changed me, right? Like the first instance would probably have been Ninja Turtles in the 1990s when I saw that in theaters, but Star Wars really did come shortly after that, where it really did just kind of, wow, this is so imaginative. And that's what really drew me into it, because people can tell stories like that. That's like what I was living in my head as a kid. So, it kind of felt validating to know that imagination mattered at such a young age, right? So to feel like
it really
super crazy.
It hit for me too, because I mean, I got to know Star Wars through my dad, and we grew closer together because of Star Wars. And I think that's great. You getting the chance to do that and asking him about that, and he mentioned getting like daddy brownie points and stuff like that is awesome. So
I think it's cool too.
Yeah, man, fantastic.
I think it's cool too. We asked him the question. He watched the animated series as a way of preparing for this role, and he was honest about it. I wanted to know if there was anything that he kind of took away to kind of infuse inside of him, knowing that probably there wasn't very much, because he is very reserved as Vader, and he's not necessarily able to infuse it, but it enriches his understanding of the character of Darth Vader and what has happened. So I think it's still smart, and I dropped a little hint there. I'm hoping we see him in Ahsoka, because I think that would be super cool. There are rumors, and I think
it's going to happen.
100%, because he's already here. It's like, why not? Like they're already giving fans what they want with an Ahsoka series, and having all of these sort of animated characters and stories find their way into live action. So why not? I think it's gonna hit, man. Like, people are gonna lose it when that happens.
So stoked. Again, big thanks to Disney Plus Canada, Disney Studios Canada, for getting us hooked up with these interviews. More great interviews to come, I'm sure, in the future. But for now, that is it. We hope you enjoyed these interviews and this special Behind the Geeks episode. And if you did and you want to write into the show, first, make sure you subscribe to us on all the platforms, podcasting, Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever podcast service you use, as well as right here on YouTube. Click the subscribe button, click that little bell, so you can kind of get all our videos sent to you. And come, if you're discovering us on YouTube, come over to the podcast, join us for a watch club, because we have a lot of fun there. And yeah, again, if you want to write into the show with your thoughts on Obi-Wan, you can do so. Justin, where are they able to? I'm sorry, I seem to not be in tune with the Force as much as you are. Can you let our listeners know how they can reach us?
Well, our listeners can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com, or on Twitter at geekcentricyt, or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric. But for all those YouTubers, well, the links are in the description, bro. So, and actually probably for the podcasters as well. So yeah, everything's in the descriptions. Guys, come on.
Well, listen, I've got to go take care of some younglings. I think
very Vader of you. Very Vader of you.
So thank you so much for joining us for this episode. And as we say, love ya.
Peace.